Let's be back up. All right. Overtime, baby. Oh, okay. She says like OT, baby. Yeah. All right. That was minus the dancing and the gesturing. So, in the live version, we have been talking about Donald Trump meeting with the president at the White House, and now we're learning that his motorcade has arrived on Capitol Hill for lunch. Hopefully, the catfish has not gotten cold. And Trump gave a thumbs up to the press from inside his car as the motorcade pulled into the alley behind the Capitol Hill Club.
It's very interesting because, many members of the press were making an issue that Donald Trump wasn't taking them with him on the plane to D.C. and they would, just be part of the regular presidential pool. But I will say this. I know there are a lot of people in the media who have their concerns that Donald Trump is not pro-free speech. He is hostile toward a free press. But he also likes the press, and he likes taking questions, and he likes the exchanges that he has, more so than anyone we've seen run for president in modern history.
But I've never really gotten that argument that he doesn't like the free press, doesn't like the. I mean,
he said that himself.
He wants to open up the libel law.
He's talked about suing reporters.
but the biggest thing that he has done is he goes after reporters, and that's what upsets people about him so much. And I don't think that's a bad thing.
But I like when he does it face to face. I like when he's in a press conference and he calls someone out and tells them that they've got a silly question.
I agree. I think it's a terrific thing, and I think that, and obviously people are going to say that they don't like the way he's changed language in the political discourse, but he has changed the language, and I think that there are some benefits to that. The chief among them is that it's less politically correct, and people are having more scaldingly honest conversations today than we have in a very long time.
But it's also similar, just like how President Obama and President-elect Trump are meeting, and just how he's meeting with Paul Ryan. The same thing's going to have to happen with the press as well, because you're going to have a lot of these reporters who have been openly hostile to Donald Trump, who are going to recognize that they want access, they want information, they want into the White House, they want in with President-elect Trump's team. And so those relationships and dynamics are going to change as well. And if you're Donald Trump and you're his press secretary, they're going to want relationships with the press as well, because they're going to want to get information out. They're going to want to sell policies and sell legislation that President Obama or President Trump wants to move forward in Congress.
But we see President Obama has really limited access of the press to, the president and his daily routine. And now the president's press offices give the press these prepackaged videos as opposed to letting them document what the president is actually doing. I don't think Hillary Clinton was particularly good with the press. I just want to make sure we still have a transparent system. And,
what's very important is whoever he makes the White House press secretary, and I hope it's somebody with experience. I hope it's not some of the people that we saw.
Sean Spicer, maybe?
Maybe Sean Spicer. That would be a good choice, but somebody who actually has experience, because as opposed to a campaign when you can throw stuff on cable news, or any of us can throw stuff out there, and it's not going to, you're going to have a press secretary whose every word is going to be parsed. The markets get moved by what the press secretary says. Foreign policy decisions by other countries get made based on where you put the comma in any sentence. You have to be a very disciplined and incredibly experienced person to be the press secretary. So I know that he doesn't have many people around him with a lot of D.C. experience. I really hope for this particular job he has somebody around him that knows how to do that.
I have full confidence that President-elect Trump and his team are taking this very seriously. And just, hearing some of the conversations that are going on, I think they are looking at people that have solid experience, that, have done these jobs before in some capacity. But I also think with him, too, part of his appeal is the fact that he's an outsider. So hopefully he doesn't just bring in government people. I think you do need some folks that know the game and know how things, happen. But let's hope he also brings in some people to disrupt the system a little bit and, to put a shock to some of the things that are failing, some of the dysfunction we've seen in Washington.
Maybe, but some of that loose talk that he had in the campaign, whether the tweets or anything else, he has to. But even these streams of consciousness that he sometimes has had in conversations. Again, you're now the leader of the free world.
Yep,
and
I get it.
Markets get moved and foreign policy decisions get made, and it's frightening.
All right, so obviously you're right about that, but one of the things that is so appealing about Donald Trump is the style, the freewheeling nature of how he does this stuff, and he breaks all the rules, breaks all the China and all that kind of stuff. And so while obviously you're right about it, I do hope that he doesn't lose who he is. And
remember when Reagan said that whole joke about 3, 2, 1, we're about to nuke Russia? Remember back in right before a press conference, and it moved markets and people went ballistic. And that's a guy who I think was very disciplined in terms of his communication. You can't, yes, it's appealing. It's not going to be that appealing when your entire portfolio gets wiped out because somebody made a snarky comment or China's about to send a ballistic missile this way.
You're the comparison to Reagan, which drives conservatives, that makes their head explode.
Right.
But I've always believed from the beginning.
Isn't that a positive thing to compare him to?
But for the Never Trumpers, you compare him to Reagan. They're like, what? I think
Reagan was perceived very similarly.
I agree.
I think Donald Trump has a long way to go before
you're stealing my all of it.
I'm bringing the hurt to you.
No, exactly. No, I think that he was perceived that way. But from the beginning, I have felt like that what makes this guy unique and what makes him a viable candidate to be the Republican nominee and a viable president is that he has, from the beginning, talked over the press, talked beyond the press. It hasn't gone through the press the way most politicians always do. They try to work it. He talks over them. They mock him. They make fun of him. They ridicule him. It doesn't matter because his message is jumping them and going directly.
Well,
you know what I want to know?
For ratings,
so Huffington Post. They were so clever. They put Donald Trump in the entertainment section when he first announced he was running for president because they said he's an entertainer and he's
that's
not
a bowl of
And
crow.
the editor's note. Remember the editor's note?
Yeah.
There's an editor's note essentially every article about Trump as well, where he's a xenophobe. He's this.
So did they when he
they had
presidency?
They had to switch it back.
Did
they had to remove the note.
Yeah. But they claimed they were always going to remove the note. They claimed after the election they were always going to get rid of the note.
I don't know.
When he went back to Apprentice.
Yeah, I guess. Well, I don't think NBC would have wanted him back. I don't know what he was going to do, but
you're fired.
He's got a job now.
The Apprentice.
Do we really think that Donald Trump's going to spend? I'm not even. This is a legitimate question. Do we really think Donald Trump is going to spend a lot of time in the White House actually working on policy? Because I think he's going to get a little bored.
It'd be a smaller house.
Yeah, I think he might get a little bored of the details of some of these.
When you are president, do you have to live in the White House? Will the Secret Service force him to live in the White House?
I mean,
and can he bring his own stuff? Can he bring like a Sleep Number bed or a Tempur-Pedic mattress?
I think he could do that. I'm not sure. I think you could pretty much bring your Tempur-Pedic mattress.
A My Pillow?
A My Pillow.
Well, of course. Mike Lindell is one of the biggest Donald Trump supporters.
Who
and
is?
it is the best. The
My Pillow
CEO
guy?
of My Pillow, yeah.
Oh.
He created the world's most comfortable pillow because he couldn't get a good night's sleep.
Somebody's been watching a lot of Fox
Well,
News Channel. Also, you should buy gold. William Devane tells me.
What's in your safe, Julie?
William Devane.
Gold was a very safe place to go on Tuesday night as the markets were collapsing. William Devane, absolutely right.
By the way, if you're having us or William Devane on Fox, I think William Devane.
If you're having a hard time seeing us on OT on the web, please log on to Facebook. Sorry, we'll get that going. That being said, I was going to ask you, Miss Kennedy, about the markets.
Yeah.
Holy, the Dow hitting an all-time high today.
That's really funny because as I was on the Fox Business Network with Neil Cavuto, Lou Dobbs, Trish Regan, and the entire FBN team on Tuesday night as we were watching those results come in. And like everyone else, the intel, the inside story, all the polls were saying that Hillary Clinton was going to win in a landslide and the whole thing was going to be over by 11 p.m. Eastern time. That was not the case. And as that's happening, we were watching all the futures indices really tank. And the Dow, the future was down by about 1,000 points, and gold was really the only safe place to go. The Asian markets were very, very skittish, and you saw as the markets started to open to different parts of the world, they were reacting very strongly to Donald Trump, and it was Melissa Francis who said, the same thing happened with Brexit, and the volatility was short-lived, and then everything stabilized, and lo and behold, look at that, they certainly did firm up like a nice ambrosia on Thanksgiving morning.
But the crazy part about that is we talk about political pundits getting the election wrong. Oh my, did Wall Street analysts get that wrong, saying that we were going to see this unbelievable sell-off in the markets if there was a Donald Trump win.
The switches were in place in case it went below 7%.
Yeah, that didn't really happen. But anyway, worth noting.
And anyway, in the long run,
could still happen, by the way.
The Trump platform is a much better one for business, much better for Wall
What?
Street.
You're telling me that Wall Street actually supported Donald Trump? What?
No,
next you're going to say all of his economic advisors are Wall Street guys.
I'm saying that it's good for business, and therefore, of course, the investment was.
But the conventional wisdom was, of course, when James Comey came out, sent that letter to Congress saying that the investigation into her email server scandal was going forward, the markets tanked.
How about James Comey's stock? Oof.
That is not in my safe, I will tell you what.
Thank
Until
you.
William Devane says
Thank you for having
Good
me.
to have you.
Love being here.
We'll see you at noon tomorrow. Thank you.